So for several months now, the Civil War movie, which just came out a little while ago, has been known about by the population at large. And I think Civil War is a bad title. Let's just get that out of the way now. It's just too generic, makes it hard to really tell what people are talking about. I think they could have come up with something better, but whatever. I finally saw it the other day, and I enjoyed it overall. I had a few issues with it, but I did enjoy it overall, and actually watching it has really hammered home to me how many people, not just that they missed the point, but that they didn't want to try and understand the point. They didn't want to try and get what the movie was trying to say because, well, quite frankly, attention spans are dead nowadays. No one actually watches movies anymore. They just watch a 5-minute YouTube video complaining about it, or they'll read a tweet telling them what to think about it, and then they just kind of formulate their opinion based on that, and they never bother watching it on their own. And you can see the same thing with books and video games and everything. Like, the internet has made it too easy to act like you have consumed something and interacted with it when you really haven't, and that's annoying. So there will be some spoilers for the movie in here, because I can't really talk about the actual themes and what it's trying to say without going into spoilers, just so you're aware. But the basic idea is that it's sometime in the future the United States has fractured into a multi-front civil war. The president is currently serving his third term in office. He has authorized airstrikes on American citizens. He dismantled the FBI at one point. We don't get a whole lot of detail about how exactly the war has started or how it's progressed up to this point. All we know is that the federal government is on the verge of capitulating. But for months, people were just pissing and moaning about how, why are California and Texas on the same side? That doesn't make sense. You don't know anything about the situation here. Like, you really don't. For starters, it's a fictional movie. It's not going to make 100% perfect sense. But for another, the political setup for it isn't really the point. Like, I can see some criticisms for it, because there are a few lines in the movie which hint at the situation and how it got to this point, like how the Northwest Alliance, which is a couple of states like Oregon and Washington, is apparently run by Maoists, which, why? Like, that doesn't make any sense at all. Or how there's one line of dialogue that mentions an anti-fascist massacre. I refuse to say Antifa massacre because that sounds retarded and it's short for anti-fascist, so whatever. But they mention an anti-fascist massacre. But that line also feels like a Rorschach test where, like, is it a massacre by anti-fascists killing other people, or were a bunch of anti-fascists massacred? Because one of those things would actually happen in real life, the other one wouldn't. But very much, the political situation in this movie isn't really the point. The point of the movie isn't showing you how and why things got to this point exactly. It's just showing you what it would look like if a massive war actually broke out. Like, it's showing you, hey, this is the sort of shit that would happen. And the movie spells it out pretty clearly. I know a lot of people whining about how it's not showing that their preferred political opponent is the evil guys. Like, they're not showing them be evil, and the last 20 minutes of the movie are just a triumphant a triumphant climax where they overthrow the bad guys and everything is great forever. Like, a lot of people are basically just whining about that, but none of them have actually seen the movie, let's be clear. That's not the point of the movie. The point of the movie is that war frickin' sucks. This is actually what it would look like, and it spells it out very clearly at one point when Kirsten Dunst's character, whose name is Lee, just straight up says, you know, back when I was photographing other countries doing shit like this, I thought I was sending a warning home. Don't do this. But then people did it anyways. Like, guys, she's just telling you the point. She's looking at the camera and telling you what the point of the movie is. And maybe I'm giving the movie a little bit more leeway than other people, because just a few months ago I read a book series called Divided We Fall. You can watch my video on it if you're curious. The I Think. I never remember which side the I Think goes on, but you can watch my video on it if you're curious. And that one was terrible, because that one at a few points kind of acted like it was trying to say, oh yeah, a civil war in near future America would really, really be awful, and here's why it would be awful, but at the same time it was just written by a fascist. So it's trying to say, yeah, it would be awful, but it would also be kind of awesome and get us everything we want. So it's just, it just didn't work. However, there are a few small moments which, taken in a vacuum, did show, yeah, war would really be awful. Like, one of the few things I liked about the series is the cover of the first book, which you can see. There's an American government building being destroyed, and there's fighting going on around it, and you really feel not only the horror of the situation, but the tragedy of it, and it makes you feel like, yeah, things didn't need to get to this point. And while the US government in Civil War is shown to be pretty fascist, or at least fascist light, they aren't really the bad guys here. Like, the rebels are not any better. Because probably the most unsettling scene of the movie is the scene with Jesse Plemons. He's only in it for a few minutes, and I'll admit it would have been more unsettling if they hadn't shown it in every frickin' trailer, but whatever.
What? Well, you're American, okay? Okay. What kind of American are you?
There's a scene where Jesse Plemons and a couple other guys who are wearing some sort of military uniforms, but the area that they're in at that point is not controlled by the federal government, I don't think. So they're either rebels or they're just kind of their own thing that are not affiliated with any major faction. But anyways, they're literally just digging a mass grave and shoving a bunch of bodies in there. And all the bodies are wearing civilian clothes, so it wasn't a battle, it was some sort of massacre. We don't know exactly why they killed these people, but also we do find out that Jesse Plemons and the others are white supremacists pretty quickly, so that gives us an idea of why it was probably done. But again, we never know for certain. All we know is that, yeah, this happened because law and order has collapsed and now the far right is running rampant and doing whatever the hell they want in some areas. And you just know that this is happening in a lot of other places all over the country. You know this is not just a one-off incident. You know this is all over the place. So it really, really, really does not matter whether the rebels or the feds or anyone else are the good guys in this situation. For starters, in real life, there are no good guys in 99.9% of wars. Like, sometimes there's a side that is very clearly the good guys, other times not really. It's much more morally gray than that. But even if the rebels were the good guys, unequivocally, this sort of shit would still happen, because it's still a war. Law and order still breaks down. A lot of innocent people still die. Modern life falls apart. That's what happens. That's what the movie's trying to say. And if you're looking at it and just complaining because the main characters aren't looking directly at the camera and then saying that they're a communist and then specifying that they're the exact same type of communist that you are, then you're kind of an idiot. And granted, the right is also whining about it a little bit, but I've seen less of that. But that's also because I don't really run in those circles. So the point is, a lot of people across the political spectrum are saying basically the same thing. And again, there's a few moments in it that really feel like Alex Garland and the filmmakers are going kind of enlightened centrist on us. And there's also some interviews that Alex Garland has done, which is given off the impression that, yeah, he doesn't quite understand American politics, but it doesn't really matter that he doesn't understand him, because that's not the point of the movie. It's not about the specific political setup and the specific things that happened that led to this point. It's, okay, this has happened, what's it going to be like? And the answer is that it's not going to be good. There's another scene partway through where again, we don't find out a whole lot about what's going on, but there's a scene where the journalist characters are with what I believe is a militia that's allied with the rebels, because they seem to be fighting U.S. government soldiers, but they themselves are not wearing uniforms. Like, they're literally wearing like Hawaiian shirts and stuff, and then they have like flak jackets and assault rifles and stuff. And they're just fighting what I believe are some federal troops, and then they defeat them and capture a couple of them and then just execute them on the spot. And yeah, again, like, that we're meant to see in this that, okay, yeah, the rebels aren't necessarily the good guys here. Like, it's not even really, like, implied that they're almost as bad or just as bad as the feds. We just see it. And it's a tragedy that things got to that point. And there's also a line of dialogue, which was in one of the trailers, where a character says that once Washington falls, all the rebels are going to turn on each other. And that's probably what's going to happen, too. Like, it's going to be a very, very, very long time before things get back to normal, if they ever do. That's the point the movie is making. And if you miss that, then well, I don't know what to say to you. I don't know how to help you. And for fuck's sake, if you're going to participate in discussion about movies, video games, whatever else online, all I ask is that you actually read / play / watch it before you actually start participating in it. Like, don't just read a couple of tweets or watch a very short YouTube video and then draw all your conclusions from somebody else. Like, for fuck's sake, that's getting worse and worse every year, and it's becoming more and more annoying.